Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
I'm back, so deal with it. Let's do this!
Finally, The Rock has come back!
Live TV is awesome. The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Happy May 19th, folks. Graham, Jason Matthews here. Unless your name is Kane, of course, the day of May 19th probably means nothing to you, but it is still a significant day in wrestling history. For what reason, I have no idea. I'm actually looking at my Today in History and WWE calendar, and it says, and I quote, from 1996, on this very day, May 19th, other than Kane burning his house down or whatever the hell happened 9 years ago, the Clique takes its curtain call at Madison Square Garden in New York City moments after the main event concludes. Diesel and Razor Ramon, who are departing for WCW, bury their rivalry with Shawn Michaels and Triple H in controversial fashion when all four superstars embrace in the ring. So May 19th is a pretty historic day in WWE history after all, so just figured I would throw that out there. But this is WrestleRant Radio for May 19th, 2015. Sat down with my buddy John. Over the last 24 hours, I went over to his house just yesterday, hung out with him today. We recorded WrestleRant Radio together, a lot of cool stuff. We did some Beast booking and SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 General Manager mode for the PlayStation 2. We filmed together #AskGSM from Monday night. That is already up on the YouTube channel from Monday, from right after Raw. We filmed it before Raw, like literally. As it became 8 o'clock, we stopped filming. We ran in to go watch Raw. As soon as it ended, we went to go right into some Beast booking in SVR 07. And then we filmed WrestleRant Radio, or recorded WrestleRant Radio earlier today, as you're about to hear. But a lot going on in the wrestling world right now. We had Payback on Sunday, which I thought was an excellent event, as you'll soon hear from both John and myself. Raw last night, which I thought was great. The debut of Kevin Owens, which we talk all about in the review, as you're about to hear. And NXT TakeOver Unstoppable tomorrow night on the WWE Network for free. It's not $9.99 this month. It's for free for the month of May, so you can check that out. But we give our full predictions of every match in the card. It's a lot of cool stuff. We also talk about Elimination Chamber. We talk about the E60 special on ESPN that aired a couple weeks ago. So a lot of cool stuff we talk about here on tonight's show. A lot of arranging topics from Payback to E60 to Elimination Chamber, from everything I basically just said. So you're going to be in for a great show. And my voice is still hoarse. It is hoarse in the recording. It's hoarse right now. We did a lot of marking out over the SVR 07 from Raw last night, from Payback. So a lot of excitement in the wrestling world. I'm sure it's going to continue tomorrow going into NXT TakeOver. So I'm sure my voice will still be hoarse going into that show tomorrow night. So I apologize if the audio is not up to par. But nevertheless, though, enjoy my conversation with the one and only John Nat. On @_John's Jargon on the Twitter. Enjoy, folks. All right, so we're back here. Sitting alongside @_John's Jargon on the Twitter. John, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing, Graham?
Doing good, dude. I'm coming off of, wow, it's been, not even, almost about 24 hours since I got here.
Almost 24 hours. Yeah, exactly.
Just about. It's been nuts.
A crazy 24 hours.
Filmed #AskGSM.
That was awesome.
Watched a great Raw.
Phenomenal.
Played countless hours of SmackDown vs. Raw General Manager mode on PlayStation 2.
As we always do.
Just amazing. It's an amazing time, dude.
Oh, it doesn't get better than that, especially when we have great beast booking sessions, as you like to say. And I'd say there was nothing short of beastly. These bookings were not. They were great.
# the bookings are here on WrestleRant Radio here today. A last minute thing I didn't think I was going to see up until a couple days ago.
Yeah,
so great to have you on the show as always. Like the Brock Lesnar, as you usually say. Special appearance, John is here on the show.
Let's do this.
I love that. But yeah, we had Raw last night. Payback on Sunday. What did you think of that show?
Payback? I mean, no, like you and I talked about this. Honestly, one of the better pay-per-views of 2015. And I think that we've had a lot of great pay-per-views.
It's been a great freaking year.
I mean, a lot of people weren't happy with Royal Rumble. I especially wasn't when it happened. But in retrospect, you can't say it was a bad pay-per-view. I mean, it was pretty good. The booking was a little odd, but considering where we are now, you can't say it was bad. All right, then you have Fastlane. I thought the main event of Fastlane was phenomenal. Everything else was a little forgettable. Randy Orton returned, but other than that, not a phenomenal pay-per-view, but solid. I'd say it was solid. WrestleMania, in my opinion, greatest WrestleMania of all time. Others will argue that.
Close to it, I'd say.
Extreme Rules, definitely solid. And Payback, I'd say an above solid show. So
above average, absolutely.
Above average. So I'd say we've had nothing but either solid or phenomenal shows.
Yeah.
And I know it's still pretty early in 2015, but I mean, going back to 2014, can you say that the first, 5 pay-per-views were solid? But some of them weren't that great.
No.
Elimination Chamber was never must-see TV.
No, the road to WrestleMania was very shaky last year. This year too, but the payoff was WrestleMania 30. You can compare. I mean, we won't spend a bunch of time on this, but you could say which was better, WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 31. We weren't at either of them, so it's hard to say. But I think watching off of the WWE Network from our dormitories, from our houses, I thought it was awesome. I thought this year was near perfect, like you said.
So far, I'd say it's been near perfect. And after watching last night's Monday Night Raw with you, I'd say that they're doing well. They're booking consistently, and that's what I like to see. I like to see consistently solid booking, and it's onward and upward from here.
Well, like you said before, or like I usually say, it's all about the aftermath. And I think this WrestleMania has had the aftermath. You can't blame Daniel Bryan's injury on WWE. No. It wasn't their fault. I mean, they shouldn't have brought him back as soon as they did. That's another rant for another day. But maybe we'll talk about Daniel Bryan being your favorite wrestler in WWE today, correct?
He is, definitely, 100%.
So, that being said, that wasn't their fault, that his reign as Intercontinental Champion did not go the way they hoped. But we are crowning a new Intercontinental Champion in less than 2 weeks at Elimination Chamber. I'll get your thoughts on that in a bit. I was telling you last night, I could list off 10 things I'm excited about right now in WWE.
Go for it.
Seth Rollins is WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
That's 1.
The crowning of a new Intercontinental Champion.
2.
The Dean Ambrose push into the main event scene.
Trace.
Paige coming back last night.
Quattro.
The return of what I was thinking. I can't name every single
one.
All
right, but that 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot. I mean, normally you got 1 or 2 things you're excited about.
I can't believe I forgot this. The U.S. Open.
Oof.
The debut of Kevin Owens last night.
Awesome stuff. Oh, that was amazing.
Absolutely. We'll dissect that in a minute, but I thought that was phenomenal.
And I really, when we do dissect it, I'd like to take the Vince Russo approach when we do it and just say, well, for the casual fan, was that as much of a mark-out moment as it was for all of us, marks? And I'd really like to see what you have to say about that.
Absolutely. I thought that was phenomenal on Monday night,
We thought it was phenomenal.
Both of us.
We're a bunch of losers who love wrestling,
We love this shit. Why do we love this stuff so much?
But I don't know if Johnny Casual fan over there across the street who turned on Raw after watching, the Rangers game.
Who's this fat guy?
Yeah, what is this Canadian guy doing on my television screen? So I don't know what he thought about it, but I enjoyed it, as did millions of others, so that's all that matters.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, Payback on Sunday. You did not catch all of the show, but like you said, you already gave your general impressions. What were some of the matches that stood out most to you on Sunday night, from what you've seen?
Well, you can't talk about Payback without mentioning that Fatal 4-Way at the end of the night. Just a phenomenal piece of art. And it really was a piece of art. And the multi-man matches in WWE over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, you really can't complain. Whenever there's more than 2 guys squaring off, there's going to be an element of just chaos that really adds to the match. And I think that was no different at Payback this past Sunday. Thought the Fatal 4-Way was phenomenal. The 2 out of 3 falls tag team match, I wouldn't say it was my favorite of the 2 pay-per-view bouts that these 2 teams had. I think I liked Extreme Rules a tad better. But these guys putting on great tag team wrestling. That's always fun to watch. The only bouts that I did not see at Payback, as I was not able to, and I still haven't been able to catch up, was the John Cena Rusev I Quit match. For
the United States Championship.
I didn't get to view that. I think I was caught up on everything else, if I'm not mistaken. You might have to remind me. Last night when we were filming Ask GSM, we
caught glimpses of it.
We had Ryback and Wyatt on in the the background, so I didn't get to
miss much.
I didn't get to observe every little intricacy of the match, but I get the general impression. It was a good pay-per-view. I could tell that from just not even watching fully with my full attention. It was a good pay-per-view.
It was a very good pay-per-view. All the right people went over for the most part too.
A logical booking. A
lot of enjoyable action as well. A lot of good action from start to finish. Like you said, you didn't see Cena Rusev. I thought that was the best encounter they've had to date.
Really?
Not saying much. Their past matches were not amazing, but I enjoyed all of them. I thought they were all very good. Last night or Sunday nights was the best. But start to finish, I feel like this show kind of set in stone, or kind of took us to the next level in WWE, as well as Monday Night Raw on Monday, of course. Last night kind of took us to what's next. Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, Money in the Bank 2 weeks after that, and then in only 96 days, I want to say, we're going to
Summerfest, I'm sorry.
Summerfest. Sorry, Jeremy Piven.
No, but I just want to add before we go any further, I'd say for a show that was only just brought up, first advertised, Elimination Chamber we're talking about, first advertised a week ago, I'd say it's one of the hotter pay-per-views. I don't know if I was this excited for Payback. Hell, I don't know if I was this excited for WrestleMania. But Elimination...
that is valid, actually.
I mean, there were a lot of expectations going into WrestleMania. Not all of them were great. Not all of them were high. But I gotta say, I have high expectations for Elimination Chamber. I really do. Kevin Owens, John Cena is going to be phenomenal. They've done a great job of, they can take my money right now. And we're still 2 weeks away. So I'm very excited for what's going to happen at Elimination Chamber.
Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins.
Who saw that coming?
For the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
I, along with you, thought Kane was the man. Especially because they advertised this as a network special.
Yes.
Not a huge pay-per-view, so they're not looking for huge buy rates. So I'd say, they'll just do Kane, Rollins, blow that over, and then we'll continue on to the summer. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. I apologize. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. That is an A+ match. That is literally Stone Cold versus The Rock. It doesn't get better than that, and I can't believe they're doing it at Elimination Chamber. Who saw that? I know you didn't see that coming.
Nobody saw that coming. As well as for the United States Championship, John Cena versus Kevin Owens.
That's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to that.
And you can't even forget about the 2 Elimination Chamber matches, because those are just as exciting too.
For the first time ever, the Intercontinental Championship will be determined. New champion will be determined inside the chamber.
Yep.
As well as the tag team champions are going to be defending their titles inside the chamber. 6 teams, not 3, not 4 like you said. I'd liked your idea. You can pitch that in a minute. Yeah. But I just thought, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. So what was your idea?
We're guaranteed one new champion in the Intercontinental Championship Elimination Chamber match, and also it's more than likely that we'll see new tag team champions, and so that just brings a whole new element to Elimination Chamber, because having it placed in February right before WrestleMania, it's a retention center. Everyone who walks in is retaining their titles. That's how it is. They never wanted to mix it up before WrestleMania, other than 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
But so finally, it's good to see that Elimination Chamber is happening in May, so that we can actually have an element of surprise involved. But my going back to what you asked, my idea for the Elimination Chamber, I believe, I was just spouting off ideas yesterday, so if I remember correctly, it was something to the effect of you have 4 members of 4 teams start in the ring. So there are 4 guys in the ring, each man representing their team, and then their partner is in the 4 pods, all right? And so then at timed intervals, people will be released from the pods, and so 1 team will have an advantage, and then 2 teams will have an advantage, then 3 teams will have the advantage, and then finally all the teams will be in. And I guess you have to eliminate both members and get them out of there, and the last person or the last team standing wins for their team. That was my idea, because I brought this up to you before Raw, so we had no idea what the composition of this match is going to be, what the structure, the inner workings of the match is going to be. Now we know there are going to be 6 teams. They haven't really gone into depth about how it's going to be played out, because we've never seen this before. This is a new idea, a new concept, so I don't know how exactly it's going to work out, but I'm very, very excited, especially for the great athletes we have going into the match.
Well, speaking of such, on that same subject, the 6 teams confirmed for the match, I believe, off the top of my head, I might have to go back and check it out, include The New Day, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, the Primetime Players, Los Matadores, The Ascension, and Lucha Dragons are the 6 teams. So you mentioned the 2 out of 3 count falls match from Sunday night, which I also thought was excellent, equally excellent. What are your thoughts in the tag team division right now? We got 6 teams in that chamber. And then you have the reuniting of the Wyatt family, Harper and Rowan getting back together. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing people are prone to do, I've noticed, is that when the tag team division is hot, it's hot and everyone knows it. But then once it dips down for maybe a month or 2, everyone says, oh, this is the worst the tag team division's ever been, blah, 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 and they just get so down and upset. I mean, this isn't the first time the tag team division has been this hot. I mean, over the period of the last maybe 2 or 3 years, going back to, I remember specifically when we had guys like the Real Americans, among other teams, I thought that was the hottest time. And then after
that was great. When Cody Rhodes and Goldust were champions,
and they had the Shield and a cast of other great wrestlers. But then, of course, we did a little dip, and it was just the Usos for a long time. But then we're on the rise again. We're trending up. I think the tag team division is hot, and it will do what it does as always. It'll be hot, and then it'll get cold. It'll be hot, and it'll get cold, because that's just how the business is. I think people think that back in the Attitude Era that tag team wrestling was always hot, when it really wasn't. Tag team wrestling was actually pretty laughable until Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys revolutionized it
15 years ago.
So I'd say that right now we're sitting pretty as far as the tag team division. We got a lot of nice teams. I might appreciate a little more realism, but that everyone always wants a little more realism. I mean, Los Matadores, I don't know why they are in when you have a great team like Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, who are sitting outside, on the outside looking in this Elimination Chamber.
Literally.
Los Matadores, they're great athletes, but at this point, what's the point? They're very cartoonish, as everyone knows. But does WWE think that us as an intelligent audience gives Los Matadores a blue hell, quoting RJ, a blue hell of a shot of winning this chamber? Like, why don't you put some more credible teams in there?
Exactly.
But I like the Lucha Dragons. I like everyone
They're great,
else.
yeah. They got 6 teams in there. 7 if you count Harper and Rowan. You have the Usos, who aren't even, they're out right now. So you have 8 teams right there.
In the tag team division.
9 if you count Curtis Axel and Macho Mandow, which I don't know if you really can.
Which is a stretch.
It's a very big stretch, but I think it's good. I'm liking it. Like you said, the tag team division will have its moments. There will be moments, or there will be times when it's not being focused on at all. But I think right now the New Day has come a long way.
Definitely.
Very shitty gimmick. I remember talking to you about it, I don't know, maybe about a month after they debuted, around that time around Christmas when I saw you. The New Day was garbage. Had no idea what they were doing with it. And as heels, they're so much more comfortable in their roles. I love it. The Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, can you please give that comparison you gave to me last night? I love it. I love it.
I totally see. When I watch Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, especially not just how they wrestle, but the circumstances behind how they became a tag team, how do you not see Flying Brian Pillman and Stunning Steve Austin? They are so reminiscent of them. I mean, Tyson Kidd being Pillman, Cesaro being the Steve Austin, just two guys who were having floundering singles careers come together. A hell of a tag team. They make a great, great tandem. All right, and then there's going to be a point where they don't want to break up. As Steve Austin said in many a times, they don't want to break up. They're having too much fun being a tag team. But hey, that might mean great success for one of them, because look at Stone Cold Steve Austin now. I mean, the Hollywood Blondes are great, but had he stayed the Hollywood Blonde for his entire career, we wouldn't have the Attitude Era. So I mean, I'm enjoying Tyson Kidd and Cesaro right now, but I do think, along with you, that they have very, very bright futures in the WWE. So.
I think they're phenomenal. I also think, and I said this to you last night, that they're using this tag team, not intentionally, but I think this tag team with Tyson Kidd, this alliance, could be serving as the foundation for a major push for Cesaro as the babyface. Then later, do you think there's a possibility that Cesaro, after Elimination Chamber, unless they win back the belts, 2 weeks after that, Money in the Bank, Cesaro becomes the next Mr. Money in the Bank?
It's possible. I would never cast that out as an impossibility. But I just think that they're so hot right now. They're, as a tag team, with the Usos gone, they're the face of tag team wrestling in the WWE right now. And maybe a couple months down the line you do that, but. Listen to this. Cesaro he's now in the promised land as far as career. He's been out there in the wilderness creatively. I mean, he's been out there losing to Kofi Kingston during commercial breaks.
We were there for that one.
He's been way out there in the wilderness with no direction, just walking in circles. So I think right now he has not more than some direction. He has a direction. They know what they're doing with him. He's over as a babyface. So I don't know if they want to get that away from him right now, because it's just started that they became a hot babyface tag team. So I think if at all, he's going to cling to that for a little bit longer before he goes out back into the unknown, back into the scary world of singles wrestling. So I'd say before we get a babyface single competitor Cesaro, you gotta squeeze everything you can out of Tyson Kidd and him as a tag team.
That's why his tag team with Jack Swagger works so well.
Yeah.
Remember that? In late 2013, and then from there he was bound to become a breakout babyface, and they screwed it up.
Dropped the ball.
The Paul Heyman thing, which had a lot of promise, had a lot of potential.
And they
failed to follow up on it, you know? They had him lose to Kofi Kingston in the commercial break in that Raw that we were at.
Yes,
so,
sir.
a turning point show for for a number of reasons. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully he can break out at some point. He just has star written all over him. And Tyson Kidd, not to say that he doesn't, I think he can be a great United States champion.
Great Intercontinental champion.
Especially Intercontinental champion.
If I have aspirations of Neville one day becoming WWE champion, I can't rule out Tyson Kidd. I mean, he's a phenomenal worker. He can talk. He's got the charisma.
He's the hashtag workhorse.
He's got the look. He's a workhorse. So, I mean, I can't rule anyone out at this juncture.
So on that note, I kind of want to transition into this. Kind of a side note from Raw and Payback and TakeOver, which we'll talk about. But the E60 special on NXT Behind the Curtain, you watched it.
Yes, I did.
Thought it was phenomenal as much as I did, right?
Of course.
Thought it was excellent. I talked all about it on YouTube a couple days ago, so I won't go full in depth. But I liked your idea. You know, the repackaging of Adam Rose. And you mentioned this. No, you didn't mention this actually on hashtag AskGSM. We were going to talk about it here today.
Yes.
And that was before you threw the idea out to me before Raw last night. And on Raw last night, you see Triple H, or was it Kane? I think it was Kane.
It was Kane.
Walking backstage, and all you see is him making out with Adam Rose. Rosa Mendez backstage. And that's it. That's the best thing they have for this guy.
It's terrible.
To follow up on the awesome mainstream attention that, you know, that this special got on ESPN, which was heavily touted as a great special, that it was. And, you know, he was the star. Not Adam Rose, not Leo Kruger, Ray LaPon.
I mean, imagine being a casual viewer and saying, "All right, I like this Ray LaPon guy a lot. I'm gonna go tune into Monday Night Raw." And you turn into Monday Night Raw, watch all 3 hours, start to finish, and you go, "Wait, was that Adam Rose kissing someone who's not his wife? Who clearly he said he had a wife and kid, making out with some chick backstage." That's the best thing they got for this guy, who I really fell in love with on ESPN. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this product, and it really is unfortunate. That's really, like, in a 3-hour show. The best thing they could do was a 2-second Kane looking at him, making out with Rosa Mendez, and then continuing to walk. I mean, it's unfortunate. It really is.
And the guy is very talented.
He's a talented worker.
I'm not going to say he's the next world champion, but the guy is very good.
Yeah.
So on that note, you know, it's one thing to say the way they're using him sucks. You know, it's one thing to point that out and to criticize it. But we here on WrestleRant Radio, we offer suggestions. And I love John's suggestion. This is why he's a future creative writer at WWE, folks. This is why we are the bookings. John, go ahead and throw out your idea.
Well, if you go back to Ask GSM edition 41 from August 25th, believe it or not, you and I talked about Adam Rose, and I spoke...
Did we really?
We did. There was a question that came in. It was like, what do you think about Adam Rose and all the other goofy gimmicks going on right now?
Wow,
Something
okay.
of that nature.
I gotta watch that again.
I paraphrase. And I was very harsh, and I said that, like, oh, whatever, Adam Rose is a strikeout, whatever, but you need strikeouts to hit home runs with, you know, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. So he's just a strikeout. And after watching that E60 special, I feel bad, because honestly... he's a great guy. Ray LaPon, obviously. He's a great guy. I can't say that I enjoy Adam Rose the character, but I enjoy the prospect of him rising to the top one day. I really think it's a cool story, especially after watching E60. But the idea that I pitched to you was one that I would love to email to freaking Vince McMahon right now, because by the time I'm in their board meetings, the production meetings, I'm sure he'll be well out of the WWE. But
TNA is Rio Luger.
But my idea was you have Adam Rose lose to any jobber you want on an episode of Raw, and he looks more dejected than usual about a loss. And you have Michael Cole and Adam Rose, man, he looks terrible out there, just like really sad about that loss. You have him go backstage. Maybe an hour or so later, you have Triple H or Vince McMahon, whoever you want to put in there as the authority figure, call him into their office, but not call him Adam Rose, and say, "Hey, Ray, I need to talk to you." And they close the door, and then maybe we'll catch up with the conversation later. So when we finally go with the conversation, it's Triple H and Ray LaPon, not Adam Rose, going, "Hey, Ray, I love you. You're a great guy, great worker, but unfortunately, you're just not getting over." Kind of like really using insider terms, breaking the fourth wall, and just seeing like a backstage conversation, like you're just not doing it for the fans. Your merch sales aren't up. No one's interested in you anymore, and it's really time. Just totally future endeavor him right there on live TV. So definitely a real problem for Adam Rose, Ray LaPont, and he'll kind of ask for a second chance, and Triple H will deny and say no, and Adam Rose, Ray LaPont will go, no. If I lose my next match, you can future endeavor me. But until then, let me prove myself. Let me get out there and prove that I can be the best I can be. So now when he comes out, he's not Adam Rose. He's not coming out with the rosebuds. All right, he's coming out as Ray LaPont. He can wear the same gear, if he wants to, but he drops the accent. He drops the goofy gimmick. All right, and then he works his way up. He starts creating a succession of wins, getting on a little win streak. All right, and then now people are emotionally invested in him because they saw, and he could say to Triple H, I have a family. Don't do this to me. Get people emotionally invested because people saw his son, they saw his wife. They see that Adam Rose or Ray LaPont. They see that he needs this. He needs this in his life, and that would totally get a large base of people behind him. So then he starts creating a couple wins. He might, maybe get a WWE Championship shot after a lot of wins or something. And that would it would do wonders for his career. Because right now, making out with Rosa Mendes is not going to save his career. It is not. So
Hashtag book it.
That was my idea.
That's all I gotta say. I already expressed to you before how great that idea was, how original it would be, and a great way to utilize Adam Rose, a.k.a. Ray LaPont, a.k.a. Leo Kruger, whatever the hell you want to call him. All I can say is hashtag book it. They just got to listen, hopefully, to the show and book it themselves.
Because honestly, as much as you don't enjoy gimmicks, you don't want to wish any ill will to anyone working.
Of course not. No, exactly.
They've worked their entire lives to get to where they are now, and you really just want to see as many people break through as you can. Unfortunately, not everyone is going to be able to. But when they take their time, had Adam Rose, Ray LaPont never been on this E60 special, no one would have cared if he left tomorrow. Absolutely no one would have cared. A few select people would. But they took the time to, do this whole expose on Ray LaPont. All right, they could have done that on anyone, but they chose him. So obviously they're getting a swarm of people invested in him. Like, oh wow, he's a real person. He has real needs. He really needs to get through, break through, become a breakout star. So let's do this. Let's get behind him. But no one wants to see that when he's making out with Rosa Mendes backstage. So they took the time to get us invested through this E60 special, and now they're not even going to follow through on it. That's the unfortunate part right there.
Total waste. I mean, it's not surprising with this company, but it is a waste though, nevertheless. Also, last night on Raw, another thing that you not only booked, but you called, Lana being paired with Dolph Ziggler.
It was more of a guess, but...
It was more of a guess. It was an educated guess, but you got it right, and I didn't see anyone else call it, so I thought it was great. But we'll go back to back to Payback here. John Cena beating Rusev to retain his United States Championship in a night quit match. Rusev quitting in Bulgarian. Lana translating and saying that he said that he quit, or I quit. In which he did, by the way. Yes. That was the exact translation. There's no controversy there. So Rusev came out on Raw last night, called out Lana, just berated her in the middle of the ring. And you're like, they can't end it like this. They can't end it like this. And they did end it like that. And that was it. So later on in the night, Dolph Ziggler comes on out and it beats Stardust in a one-on-one match pretty quickly. Pretty much not a burial, but Stardust.
A burial.
A burial, pretty much. Stardust is pretty much buried by this point. So Dolph Ziggler comes out, gets in the mic. Michael Cole says, "You're in the IC Chamber match at Elimination Chamber along with Rusev." Yeah. So out comes Lana, and they make out in the middle of the ring.
Lana Del Legs.
I love that. So Lana Del Legs comes out and makes out with Dolph Ziggler for a solid 5 minutes or so. It wasn't like a peck on the cheek. It was
it was really awkward, actually.
It was a couple minutes dragged out. I was like, okay.
You gotta imagine Rusev wasn't ready to run out or something, because they were literally just, staring at each other. And there was, no one calling anything on.
It was odd, yeah. Very odd, yeah.
It's like, all right, what's happening next?
Yeah, is this turning into a porno? What am I watching here on Monday Night Raw? So Rusev comes out, Dolph Ziggler lays him out, hits him with a zigzag, and that was it. So I've talked about this before on WrestleRant Radio. RJ and I have talked about it before. Rusev, gone are the days of his undefeated streak, of his championship, of his girl. I'm not going to say, do you think this is a swerve? Because if they're going to do the swerve, you should have done it at Payback with Johnson. There's no way this is a swerve. Slight chance, highly doubt it, though. What are your thoughts on the recent booking of Rusev and how they've ruined him, for lack of a better term?
Well, I went into this partially on Ask GSM, but it's terrible. I mean, it's just, I don't want to blame Cena for it because, of course, once Cena gets his hands on something, it's dead. But you can't say that now because of his whole string of U.S. Opens where he's really given back to a lot of young guys. So I don't want to say it was all entirely Cena's fault, but just having Rusev leave 3 pay-per-views in a row without a win, what did they expect? What could anyone expect? Rusev loses controversially if you count him bumping into Lana on the apron at WrestleMania. All right, no problem. Then you do a Bulgarian chain match, was it?
Yeah, the Russian chain match.
The Russian chain match, and then he loses there too. All right, now everyone thinks, okay, no way Rusev can go 0-3 against John Cena. Well, if you even count their Fastlane match, 1-3.
Yeah. That's an afterthought by this point.
There's no way he can go 0-3 against John Cena. He's gonna make John Cena say I quit, which would be a whole new character development for John Cena to explore, which is initially why I thought Rusev was going to win. Because, we've never heard John Cena say, I quit. The fact that they were doing a 4th match in the first place made me think, all right, maybe they want to explore this side of Cena where maybe he is a quitter. Maybe they're going to do something to that effect. But they did not. They had Rusev quit in Bulgarian, and I don't know. I said this on Ask GSM. We talked about it a little in private, but I really don't have a solid route for Rusev. I mean, sure, he works the summer with Ziggler. He works all these house shows, does a nice program with Ziggler over Lana. Of course you could say this about anyone, but then what? Is there a championship in his future? Is there I don't even know. Could he be the next King of the Ring, Royal Rumble winner? Is he main eventing WrestleMania? I mean, when you think about it, what's next for anyone? But Rusev is just especially disheartening because he was just this monster heel that there was so much potential for him to work with all these baby faces. And once Cena gets in the ring, all his heat's gone. I mean, he got some heat back last night, but then Ziggler laid him out, and it's just like, all right, well, Rusev isn't a threat anymore.
Exactly.
Dolph Ziggler, the guy who gets beat by everyone, just laid this monster out and took his girl. It might take the championship away from an Elimination Chamber.
What I was going to ask you next, do you think they can rebuild Rusev with a win at Chamber, with a win in the Intercontinental Championship Chamber match?
Well, like you said at the start of the show, it's all about the aftermath, all right? So if he wins the IC Championship, but then it's made to look like a coward on... Well, not even like a heelishly coward, but just like a terrible, like not well... not a good wrestler. Just bad kind of character.
I hear you.
And that's not going to work out. So like you said, it's all about the aftermath, what they do with Rusev. As far as if you were to be given the Intercontinental Championship, that'd be great. Especially because I thought that Dean Ambrose was going to be the next Intercontinental Champion. Now that he's in the world title picture, I'm sure I wouldn't mind if they gave it to Rusev. That would be, hell, that could be pretty cool.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, sure.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be pretty stellar.
Better than vacant holding
the Intercontinental Championship for the millionth time, it feels like. But yeah, that should be a stellar match with all the talent that was announced. I believe we have Rusev, Ziggler, Sheamus, Ryback, our freaking Truth.
For some reason,
and King Barrett.
Yes, sir.
So we got a couple good guys in there. I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned John Cena, the United States Championship. I've been waiting to talk about this. I know you've been waiting to talk about this. Kevin Owens, the NXT Champion, answering the Open Challenge last night. And I mentioned this before. The U.S. Open, same for you, I'm sure, has been my favorite part of the show.
It really is.
Since the night after WrestleMania. It's been great.
It's been outstanding. It adds an element to surprise. And hell, it's just like... We've all known that Cena can work that well, but I feel like in his previous runs, I feel like I've never seen him, this capable or this well versed in the ring. But I mean, his matches have been phenomenal each and every week. And I've known he's putting on pay-per-view caliber matches every Monday night, and that's why it's so fun to tune into.
I'm looking forward to it. I think these matches every single week have you looking forward to Raw, regardless of what's in store, what's being advertised. You get a great match.
Yep.
Cena putting over somebody new.
Yep.
Now I think more so than anything else, it's not only the matches that are great, it's the idea that John Cena is doing something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the US Open is great, but I think it's more so the idea that we've never seen this from Cena before. He's in the main event every year, every month for 10 years. And finally they got something going for him where people can be excited for what he's going to do.
Exactly.
He's got Sami Zayn, Neville, Barrett, Dean Ambrose, all these great opponents, all these great matches. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Last night, our third consecutive week, where a former or current NXT champion answered the U.S. Open, Kevin Owens. What were your thoughts? What was going through your mind when you were down?
Well, when I heard that entrance music, I was just thinking, there's no way. He has a special on Wednesday. He can't be out here. And then, as he came out, I was like, all right, well, this should be a good match. This is a match I'd really like to see at a WrestleMania one day, but let's do it.
Next year.
And then as they started to talk and get into the whole promotional interview, I thought, well, I'm glad that they're holding off on this. And I will say, as epic as the moment was, I'm going to be a little bit of a party pooper here.
Go ahead.
I thought that Owens left a huge impact. And it's not that he seemed nervous to me. He seemed like he was holding back. I don't know if that is what you picked up on, but I totally thought that he's so capable of being this great heel, but I feel like maybe he was, trying to respect John Cena a little bit, but I feel like he was just not being this totally monster heel that I knew he could be. Don't get me wrong, the powerbomb was amazing, dropping the U.S. title and then stepping on it was amazing. I'm talking about more on the microphone, the things he was saying. He didn't blow me away with what he was saying on the microphone. It wasn't timid. It didn't come across as timid. It just seemed like he was holding back from what he's truly capable of doing on the microphone. But I'm so excited for their match in Elimination Chamber, and I want you to comment on this. There's a possibility Cena could come to NXT Unstoppable and maybe cost Kevin Owens his NXT Championship.
That's tomorrow, and you mentioned the promo itself, which I thought was great. We will have a match someday, but it's going to be on my terms. 2 weeks at Elimination Chamber, apparently. I don't know if I got that feeling. I mean, now that you mentioned, I kind of do, or I kind of did. But that said, though, I feel like that was done purposely.
Okay.
Because you can get a lot of money feuds, a lot of money matches, a lot of money promos out of those two guys in the ring. Crap on John Cena all you want. Not you, but I mean, rhetorically speaking. Yeah, exactly. Everybody. The guy, when he's in there, and you mentioned this yourself, you forgot to mention this before, but you told me this yesterday. The promos that he's been cutting recently are some of the best promos I've heard him cut in a long time.
It's amazing to me how, he comes out to these whole John Cena sucks choruses, which are done just to be cool, by the way. No one actually thinks he sucks.
If we went to a show, I would do it too.
I would do, exactly.
It's hilarious.
But he comes out to all these chants, even a couple boos sometimes. But by the end of his promo, when he yells, "You want some? Come get some," everyone in the house is cheering because they're so, not only are they excited for the U.S. Open, but it's just he speaks with such conviction on the microphone. It's hard to hate what he's saying, especially now that he has this whole United States of America, this title is about opportunity kind of thing. I mean, how could you be mad about that? Him, winning the WWE Championship every month, you could be mad about that, but it's really hard to. He's out there giving these young bucks a shot, putting on great matches, and he starts with great promos. So honestly, this might be a bold statement. It might not be a bold statement.
I kind of agree with this, by the way.
This has been the best his character's been in a long, long, long time. The
most invested I've been in John Cena
Definitely.
Since I started watching 7 years ago. Probably for you as well, right? I'm trying to think of another. Other than the Edge Cena feud.
The Edge Cena feud. I was really hoping Cena would come out on top back then, but
what the fuck is wrong with you, John?
Damn it! But no, for me, the whole Cena sucks garbage happened when he beat my idol at WrestleMania 23.
Shawn Michaels.
After that, I wasn't a fan really anymore. But this has been really reinvigorating for his career, revitalizing his career. Really fun to watch every Monday night, the U.S. Open.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, Owens versus Cena at Elimination Chamber. 2 weeks. It's going to be a stellar match. I'm looking forward to it. Such a great debut for Kevin Owens. The guy comes out. He doesn't have a match. It's something out of the ordinary. I love how they do something different every week. We get a great match from two baby faces in Cena and Ambrose the night after WrestleMania. The next week or the next few weeks, we get him versus a heel in Kane, or a great match with Barrett, Stardust. We get great matches like that. And then we have him and Rusev, which is done in a way where Cena lost by disqualification, but Neville was protected in defeat, or in victory, I guess, whatever. He did not win the championship, but he was protected. Cena was protected. The introduction of Sami Zayn with the promo and Heath Slater coming out. I love it. Just the way they've been booking this has been so different. It's not just Cena buries people. I hate that bullshit that he's burying people with his U.S. Open. He is putting people over, and last night was the epitome of that.
If I can quote Bully Ray, who probably quotes others when I say this,
and he quoted you, by the way.
He did quote
Cheap
me
plug.
on Twitter.
@_John Sargent on Twitter.
You don't have to go over to get over.
I love that, by the way.
And
Great.
these guys, Neville, Zayn, especially Owens now, getting over. Hell, Owens got over last night. He didn't even wrestle. All right, I mean, you don't have to get over to go, or you don't have to go over to get over. And Cena is putting people over, giving them a name, giving them credibility to the WWE universe. Sometimes he's not even wrestling, but it's amazing to see these great matches he's doing. It's phenomenal.
And I'm looking forward to that matchup. Like I said, Cena Owens, first time ever at the Elimination Chamber.
Who would have thunk it?
Nobody.
I mean, I always thought at least Owens, who only debuted December 11th of 2014, I thought he'd be in NXT for a while. I mean, he's great down there.
I mean, he could have been called up ASAP.
Oh, yeah.
But because there's like more opponents for him to face, you know, people are usually in NXT for a while before they get called up.
But it's looking like this is it.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like he is now main roster bound? After Chamber.
I mean, it's tough to say, I just, one, face John Cena at a pay-per-view. Two,
for a championship.
For a championship. Two, potentially beat John Cena for a championship at a pay-per-view. And then go back to NXT and face, Baron Corbin. So I mean, I'd have to say, regardless of the outcome at Elimination Chamber, I think Owens is here to stay. I really do.
And I really, really hope so. Oh. The opponents that he can have on the main roster are endless. Screw John Cena at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 32.
I'm ready for it.
# book it.
That would be a physical contest. Oof.
Triple threat with Samoa Joe, baby.
Oh, stop it.
Samoa Joe's coming in. Husky Joe's coming into WWE on the main roster.
They'll give him a Mighty Mouse gimmick. Trust me.
They will, yeah. What they were going to reserve for Neville is going to be given to Joe instead. Also on Raw last night, a lot to talk about, a lot happening. To close the show with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I'm liking what they're doing there. Like you said, no Kane. I have no idea what they're doing with that. It's been a while. It's really weird. But I think what they've been doing so far with Rollins and Ambrose has been great. So what are your expectations for the title match come Chamber in a couple weeks?
Well, this is a match that I really was hoping that, I mean, not hoping, but just expecting to be saved. They had a great series of matches last summer, all right? SummerSlam probably being their best encounter.
Which I was here for, by the way.
There you go.
Sitting in these very seats as we're recording this right now.
SummerSlam, they had a great lumberjack match. They had a great program. They had a great segment at Battleground where Ambrose was chasing Seth Rollins into the trunk of a car, came out of the trunk of a car and chased Seth Rollins out of the arena. Then at Hell in a Cell, they had they closed the show at Hell in a Cell. So a great string of matches in 2014. I was expecting, well, the next time we see these guys go, it's going to be WrestleMania, SummerSlam. These guys are the future. Next Stone Cold, next Rock. Don't let them meet up. So last night I had a bunch of emotions, a bunch of thoughts, especially as we learned that, hell, Ambrose is facing Rollins in the main event of Elimination Chamber. Bunch of emotions, bunch of thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm just excited. I really am. These guys have the best chemistry, I'd say, on the roster. Bold statement. The best chemistry. That's saying Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, who are chemistry. I'm saying Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. Just the history that these guys have. The best chemistry out of anyone on the roster. They're amazing to watch, and Elimination Chamber is going to benefit from this. I mean, having Kane and Rollins close the show to Elimination Chamber wouldn't have been a really good way to end it at all. But Ambrose and Rollins, they're going to freaking close the show. That's amazing.
We've been saying this since the night after WrestleMania. # the future is now.
Yes, sir.
Here in WWE. That's what I love about this. But it's funny that you mentioned that too. I'm in the midst of an article. I was in the middle of writing it before I went over to your house yesterday, before I came on over here. Probably going to finish it later, put it up on Bleach Report tomorrow. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins, in my opinion, I want to know if you agree with this, is WWE's next iconic rivalry.
It will be.
I'm not saying it's going to be the next Rock and Austin, but I could see it being like the equivalent, again, not as great, but just something similar to Triple H versus Shawn Michaels.
All right. It's already being positioned. It's already being geared to be like that. I mean, the chapters that their rivalry has is it's boundless. Like, you could write a book. You could write a whole book about just Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. And the exciting part is that it's not even close to being over. These guys are so young. It's going to be WrestleMania 40.
They're just getting started.
And they're still going to be going. They're going to be tag teaming in a couple years. It's going to be amazing.
That's what I love about this so much.
There's so much depth in this book of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I mean, go back to the summer. They were like the most entertaining part of Monday Night Raw, having Dean Ambrose, gag the Money in the Bank briefcase for Seth Rollins to open, have green paint come out. Remember when he poured soda and popcorn inside of it and had Heath Slater beat Rollins? I mean, their matches at SummerSlam, just the segments and the promos and this and that, and it was just great must-see TV back in the summer, which is why I think last summer was very hard to beat. Probably the best portion of 2014. But
hands down.
Oh, they added so much to the summer of 2014, and I'm hoping that their stint right now doesn't end the Elimination Chamber. Whether Ambrose walks out or Rollins walks out champ, I'm hoping that we have more to the story. But I don't want the story to finish. I want them to keep the book open a little bit. Give me a reason to want to watch Ambrose Rollins 10 years from now. So
that's why I love this feud, because I feel like the on and off chemistry that these two have is endless. It's boundless in terms of where they can go with it. Yeah. The matches are great. The promos are great. The storyline is great. Dean Ambrose, up until a couple weeks ago, had never, ever, ever, ever beaten Seth Rollins. Finally got that win to earn himself a spot in the main event of the pay-per-view. And all former Shield members in the main event, along with Randy Orton, for the WWE Championship in the main event of Payback.
It's outstanding. It really is. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see. And just to go back to what I said earlier, I want them to give me a reason to want to see this match in 10 years. What I'm referring to is, I don't want this to be a John Cena, Randy Orton kind of deal, where 10 years from now, Ambrose and Rollins, blah, 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 I don't want to see, blah, 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 blah. I want this match to be fresh for the next decade, the next 2 decades, till I'm dead. I want to see Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins fighting with their walkers and fighting over the last something at the early bird special diner. Blah.
TNA?
Yes. Yes.
So that being said, to me, I love that comparison. It's not Cena Orton, more it's the same match. It's they had good matches, but whenever I see that match, I'm like, oh, again.
I'm really, really not excited. Like whenever they're in
when they're in the same ring together, exactly, sharing the same breath. I'm like, oh, Cena and Orton again. To me, it's like Cena and Punk. You see Cena and Punk on the same card together, Cena and Punk. Yeah. It's gonna be something special. Yeah, really. Those matches are good. The promos are good.
So what do you think they did wrong with Orton? Other than having them wrestle at every single juncture they could, what do you think they did wrong with Orton and Cena?
I think the problem with Orton and Cena was that their feud never evolved. The story was always the same. Orton was always. Every time they feuded, Orton was always, I'm a heel now. I'm going to punt your dad in the head. Yeah. That was a great feud.
Well, I think 2007, that was probably
the best feud.
And that's because they did fresh stuff like punting your dad in the head.
Exactly. There was a story to it.
They did the same thing in 2009, 2000.
They did it a year ago in 2014.
It was never much more than, I'm a good guy, you're a dick, let's wrestle.
Chase my championship.
Let's wrestle.
They had 4 pay-per-view matches in 2009. It was basically just hot potato at the title, no story behind it. When they unified the WWE World Heavyweight Championships, there's no story. It's just Cena and Orton.
And so far for Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, we've had, all right, you turned on me, I'm going to kick your ass. All right, you screwed me at Money in the Bank, now I'm going to make sure you never cash in.
Yes.
All right, now we're at you're WWE Champion, I'm coming for your ass. So there's already so much depth and so much evolution.
So many layers.
Exactly.
Evolution is a mystery. I love it. It's perfect. Seth Rollins to me is like the current Randy Orton. He's like a mixture. He's like a hybrid of Edge and Randy Orton to me. And Ambrose is like an Austin Pillman and Piper.
Oof.
That's a stretch, but I feel like it's an Austin Pillman and Piper. I love the talent right now. The future is now. Speaking of the future, NXT TakeOver Unstoppable anticipation is at an all-time high come this Wednesday. Very much looking forward to this special. We've got a lot of good matches on this card. Only from what you've seen, from what you think about each match. I mean, even if you have no idea what the background of each match was, just flip a coin and, pick a winner,
Yeah.
So kicking up the card here, our predictions for tomorrow's special, NXT Unstoppable, TakeOver Unstoppable, only on the WWE Network. Bayley and Charlotte versus Dana Brooke and Emma. 2 women's matches on this show. First one being this tag team match. Who do you got going over?
Well, seeing as though Bayley and Charlotte are somewhat veterans in the NXT roster, and then we have this newcomer, what was her name? Dana
Brooke.
Dana Brooke. I would assume that they would be doing the job for this newcomer, maybe giving her, a little credibility as she debuts here in NXT. So I have Dana Brooke and Becky Lynch.
Emma. Sorry.
I apologize, Emma. Sorry, guys.
There's a lot of women on the show, which is the good thing.
It's hard to remember them all.
Exactly. They're all great athletes. How can they're all great in their own right, so it's kind of hard. Like, one's not a Rosa Mendez and the other's a Paige, There's NXT, they're all great. But I agree. I think Dana Brooke and Emma are at least Dana Brooke is the newcomer on the scene. Charlotte is ready.
She's been ready.
Actually talk about, briefly what you were saying yesterday about we need new talent. We need new women on the scene.
We do.
On the main roster.
Yeah. And it's really getting tiresome. It's just, for the longest time, it was just the Bellas, AJ Lee, and Paige, flipping the championship back and forth. And now Nikki Bella's had it since Survivor Series.
They've got Naomi, but
what's next after that? And Paige is back, but how many times have we seen that? Heard that song, Paige being Divas Champion? Now this would be her 4th Divas Championship win if she were to win it, correct?
I believe her 3rd.
Her 3rd? Regardless, that's still 3 more times
What do you go after that?
The average diva. And I think the thing that is especially wrong with the divas and how they're written, how the divas are written in storyline, is that in the divas division, the only gripe you can really have someone that is plausible in a wrestling environment is, oh, you're a champion, I'm a challenger, let's fight. Whereas the guys are like, oh, you betrayed me. Oh, you're my teacher, now I'm turning on you. Everything else, and this isn't the Divas' fault, it's how they're written. Everything else seems sophomoric and childish. Like, oh, you kissed my boyfriend, slap, let's go wrestle at WrestleMania. It's really unfortunate how they're written. It's like, I can only be a champion, you can only be a challenger, let's wrestle. There's no storyline that makes me think like, oh my gosh, this means so much, let's go. Like, it's like, oh, a Divas Championship match.
They're portrayed as crazy. Every single one of them. There was once a creative writer who worked there, I believe, I think his name is Kevin Eck. He said a couple weeks ago that Vince doesn't see the Divas as, she's the face, she's a heel, they're just women. They just throw them out there. That's why Alicia Fox turns every other week. Natalia's every other week a babyface or a heel, Naomi and Paige and everybody else, Nikki Bella, they're always turning and no one, cares. And it sucks because I think there's a lot of talent in there.
Every time we refer to women, I have to ask you if they're face or heel because honestly, not only are the Divas matches bathroom breaks, it's like, well, they're like you said, they're turning every other week. It's unfortunate, especially if the heels are the give Divas a chance movement, which I was skeptical from the very beginning. Even when Vince tweeted, "We hear you," just wait.
Doesn't mean we're going to do anything, but we hear you.
Like it's. Once I read that AJ Lee retired, I knew we were going back to the Dark Ages.
Dark Ages, yeah.
And nothing will ever be as dark as 2012, and I bring this up, when Divas were just not on WWE television.
On a 3-hour show when Layla was champion, I remember that. They weren't even on the show.
They were just written off. Nothing will ever be as dark as that. But
that was bad.
It's just, I feel like they don't care. They just don't care. And there's a fan base for it. You can go into any discipline, and most of the time, half of the fans are going to be men, and half of them are going to be the women. And there's no difference here in WWE. You have male fans and you have women fans, and you have to cater to them both. All right, women. Women aren't just prizes to be won. I feel like I'm preaching the choir here. They're not just prizes to be won. They're not just conquests for men. It's like there are girls watching WWE who love watching Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan and John. They love watching that action, but maybe they want a hero they can relate to or someone a role model they can aspire to be. And I don't want to aspire to be Nikki Bella or Paige. I'm a guy, and I know there are more guys out there probably than women who want to see the Divas division do well. And it's really, really, really unfortunate. 2 words: character development. It's so important in everything: books, movies, comics. Without character development, there's no emotional investment. I actually wrote a paper about this in my composition class. Like, what are the most fundamental aspects of storytelling? I was like, character development. Because it's just, there's no way, if you could play the most epic movie ever and play it in Spanish, and or Chinese, and because I have no idea what's going on, I will not care. It could be like the greatest thing in the world.
Because you don't understand the character development.
Because I have no idea what they're thinking, what they're saying, what their beliefs, values, morals are. So it's like, all right, cool, sounds good. When the guys wrestling.
Exactly. Could not agree more. That's the women's tag team match and our thoughts on the women's division right now in WWE. Up next, Baron Corbin versus Rhino. I'm loving Rhino right now. I'm so glad he's back. Mm-hmm. I think NXT is a perfect place for him. He's going to put over the young guys. Yeah. His matches have not really been that bad. It's better than seeing him in TNA for the 10th millionth time. Yeah. So I like Rhino. I think he's cool. By the way, too, I was thinking about this a couple days ago. I thought you'd be happy to see Rhino back in WWE. Maybe not, but I remember you telling me when I first knew that you were a wrestling fan that someone got you a Rhino action figure, and it was from TNA, and you weren't happy with that.
I was not happy because obviously back then my favorite matchup to watch was WrestleMania 17.
And he was involved, right? Yeah.
And he came in the TLC 2 match. I always thought he was a beast. And, of course, there's no WWE Network back then, so you really couldn't watch anything more about that unless you bought DVDs, which I did not. But, my friend actually bought me a TNA Rhino figure, which was not that interesting to me.
That was Brett, right?
It was Brett.
Brett.
So...
That's funny. Who do you got going over?
It really, I'm always glad to see older, more wiser, experienced talent coming back, giving back. I mean, especially, we just talked in length about John Cena, what he's doing. And Rhino might not be doing it to that extent, but I mean, he's just giving these young guys and women any knowledge that he can, just giving back to the business, preparing for tomorrow. It's really cool to see.
I think it's great. I think they can bring in more guys like that. They brought in Brian Kendrick for a one-off episode, which was really cool. Shelton Benjamin would have been nice, but he's with GFW from what I've heard. As well as I think they could bring in for a one-time only if they're not going to do it on the main roster, if they're not smart enough to do it. Bubba Bully Ray would be a one-off with Kevin Owens. Would be amazing.
I've been advocating for him to be on the main roster yesterday. Like he needs to be on the main roster 3 weeks ago. That's when we need him. We need him as soon as possible. I'm a huge Bully Ray fan. Love the work he did in TNA, and I think that I'm not so much as a couple months ago, but we're always in desperate need for these non-cool heels. All right, these guys who don't want to pander to the audience, but like a Rusev type heel, or just like F you, I'm doing this, I don't care. When sometimes you get the CM Punk heels or the Seth Rollins heels, or like they're
innovative.
Yeah, but I mean we need these. JR always talks about this on his podcast, the Ross Report, and that we just need these non-cool heels to come in. I think Bully Ray would be perfect. Just, do you know who I am? Just do the whole shut up. Just being like a crazy good heel. He can work a good match. He can work a match as well as anyone. So, I mean, it's not like it's like he's sitting, like he hasn't been in contact with the WWE. He was at the freaking Royal Rumble. So why can't he just call them up and say, hey, sign me?
He was at he was on the TNA episode a couple weeks ago.
I heard that was a one-off.
It was a one-off, thankfully, yeah, but I really want to see Bubba Ray back in WWE. Cheap plug, an episode, or an edition, of John's Jargon on nextwrestling.net wrote it right after the Royal Rumble in regards to why Bubba Ray should be brought back into WWE with the Bully Ray gimmick and if it would work.
Bubba's bounce back.
There you go. Wrote it back in January. You can check it on nextwrestling.net.
Yes, sir.
That is John's Jargon for you. So who do you got going off in this match? Going over, Baron Corbin or Rhino?
I think it would be Rhino's duty to let Baron Corbin go over on him. So I pick Baron Corbin.
I'm sure the feud isn't over here, but Baron Corbin has to go over. I mean, if Rhino wins, the feud will continue, but I think it would be better served with more people watching this special more than any other episode. Yeah. Baron Corbin should go over. Up next, a number one contenders match to determine the number one contender to the NXT Championship. Hideo Itami has been injured. He is out of the matchup. It is Finn Balor versus Tyler Breeze. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I can't remember a more just highly enjoyed character in recent memory than Finn Balor. I mean, he is just amazing to watch in the ring. His entrance will surely be amazing tomorrow night. And it's just there's just so many people who have never experienced watching him, who just love every second of it, myself included. And as good, and I'm also a Breeze fan. I'm a Tyler Breeze fan. I think that he's been down in NXT maybe a little bit too long. But not that he's ready for the main roster, but I feel like they don't really have a direction for him down there. But honestly, you got to give the match to Finn Balor. He is literally the future. He is. Give him the WWE Championship right now. He is amazing to watch in the ring.
STAR. The dude is a star. Love Finn Balor. The guy's amazing. So I got Finn Balor going over here as well. Up next for the NXT Tag Team titles, Blake and Murphy versus Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. Kind of a throwaway match, but it is what it is. For the tag team titles, who do you got going over?
I might want to see Blake and Murphy retain here, but I don't know. I mean, the tag team division isn't as hot in NXT.
No, not even close. They don't even have enough tag teams.
On the main roster, but I mean, yeah, I'll definitely take Blake and Murphy in this one.
It's hard to say. I could very well see this going either way. I love Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I think they're great. They're very entertaining to watch. Just because I think Carmella might turn or cost him the win, I'll probably have to go with Blake and Murphy. I would love to see Enzo and Colin win, but I don't know. I get for some reason I feel like as well as you that Blake and Murphy will retain here. For the NXT Women's Championship, you talk about the differences between the tag team division in NXT and WWE. What about the differences between the women's division in NXT and the main roster?
Wrestling matters.
Wrestling matters.
Story development matters. And the time they are allotted to tell a story in the ring matters. It's not 30 seconds of pointless holds and maneuvers. There's a gradual story. The pacing of the match is different, and they are given enough time to tell a good story. And they are made to feel important with their placement on the card. All right, are they going right before the main event?
I believe so.
Yes, they are. So
on the card, it looks like, yeah.
So that automatically the match feels more important than it already is. I mean, when Stephanie McMahon fought Brie Bella at SummerSlam, that wasn't a wrestling classic, but just because it was placed on the card where it was, it already felt more important than it could have been. Like, imagine if they opened the show with that.
Exactly.
Like, all right, but the card placement is so intricate when you're thinking of what card you want to make.
And they can deliver, too.
Yes, they can.
Have great matches. Every women's match on these specials, from Paige and Emma to Charlotte and Natalya to the four-way at the most recent special, have all been phenomenal.
Really.
I'm looking forward to this match.
That four-way especially. That four-way was amazing.
I think probably the best women's match I've seen in ever.
Really?
I think so. Since I've been watching the No Way, easily. I mean, there's no competition, I think.
Yeah, all right.
No better women's match. Maybe the matches with Trish, but I wasn't a fan for that. But I feel like the matches that Trish had with Mickey were better and more story development. But yeah, these girls there was 2 words, character development, as you talked about, the values, the morals, everything. And I'm looking forward to this match. I think from an in-ring standpoint, it's going to be great. I've got Sasha going over. And I think Bayley should be the one to take the title off her so Banks can go up to the main roster. And it would not be out of the ordinary for her to show up on Raw with that title intact. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. I mean, we saw it with Paige, but we just saw it last night with Kevin Owens.
Yes, sir.
So I could very well see Sasha Banks dropping that title to Bayley down the line. So I've got Sasha here. Who do you got going over?
I think that because they are so dependent on Sasha to carry the NXT Divas into the next decade and into the future, I think, and with more eyes than ever this Wednesday going to be on the NXT product, I think they're going to want to showcase what Sasha Banks is capable of. She's going over against Bayley.
Sasha Banks, your winner in this matchup. Or against Becky Lynch, you mean?
Becky Lynch, I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. So we get to the main event, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. I love the hype this match has gotten on the network, on Raw last night. They made it feel like the most important match in the world. I'm very much looking forward to this match. I love the first match. The second match should be equally excellent. For the NXT title, who do you got going over?
Was it just me, or for their first match in February, did the crowd seem a little not lifeless to you, but just not entirely in it?
Not red hot for it.
I mean, if you go watch that, when Zayn first won the title against Neville.
Favorite match of 2014, quite honestly.
Even the Fatal 4-Way with Tyson Kidd, Zayn, Neville, and Breeze. That match,
incredible.
The crowd was so hot for that. And I felt like the crowd was kind of dead for Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens won. So I think the first thing I'm going to pick up on at this NXT special is whether the crowd is going to be hot for Kevin and Zayn, which I think they will be, especially because Owens was just on Raw the other night. So I think there's going to be a whole new dynamic that we didn't get in February. And hell, the match in February might have even been a little bit rushed, seeing as Owens. I mean, I like the story that they told, but I mean, they weren't all that well acclimated with Kevin Owens when he won the NXT Championship. But I think more so than back in February, this match is going to steal the show, just be an all-outright classic 5-star affair. It's going to be fun.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Oh, and I've got, honestly, I got Zayn.
I got Zayn, new NXT champion. Do you feel like John Cena will play a factor in the finish?
I do. I mean, Owen stepped on Cena's United States title after laying him out with the pump-up powerbomb. I got Cena. That's very heel. It's a very heel thing to do,
especially given the fact that he's friends with Sami Zayn and everything that happened on Raw. They have that established friendship. So,
but it's a very heel thing.
It is very heelish.
I don't know, but it's on NXT.
It would be the ultimate endorsement.
The thing is,
for
it's
NXT.
on NXT. There are 8-year-olds watching NXT. Cena might be able to be a little bit edgier. Maybe come in and I don't know, cost Owens the match.
It's the same guy who beat the shit out of Rusev in that episode of Raw when he's throwing him all over the stage back in February. Remember that?
True.
So I don't know. This match could very well go either way.
Who do you got?
Well, first of all, I just want to say the crowd thing. I feel like you said, the story they told, I was not surprised that they weren't like red hot for it. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they tell a different story this time. Owens does not dominate the entire time. It's more of a back and forth bout, very competitive. Zayn is injured, still partially. He will be in action. That's been confirmed, obviously. So no switcheroo, no angles, no bait and switch, I guess you can call it. So hopefully that match will live up to expectations. But going over Kevin Owens.
Really?
I don't know. It's weird because with Kevin Owens potentially coming up to the main roster, I don't know. Like you said, it's hard to believe that Owens would, win here and then lose against John Cena. He has to win the U.S. title, I feel like.
Even if Cena cost him? And you couldn't...
I could see that, but Sami Zayn, I feel like, is main roster bound too.
Isn't he going to be sitting out 6 months?
Who's Zayn?
Yeah.
No. He's not...
He's fighting through the injury?
I believe so.
So if he were to win, would he, even though he's injured, he's going to have to be on NXT?
I think so. But they only tape a couple matches a night, so...
I read somewhere that Zayn was going to be out for 6 months. I read on some news site that
Tommy will be out for 6 months.
I heard that Tommy's out for 8 months.
6 to 8 months. Then Zayn might be out. Well, Owens was out. He got a knee injury. He was out for only 6 weeks. And he was the only reason that worked was because they taped NXT, and then before the NXT came up, the next one, he was already healed.
Okay.
So, because they taped, like TNA.
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of schedule. So, I mean, it could go either way. I got Owens.
I got Zayn.
You got Zayn, and it's going to be one hell of a match, one hell of a show tomorrow night on the WWE Network. It's NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. And just like that, the hour is up.
Wow, that was a quick hour.
Here on WrestleRant Radio. Wow, amazing. Talking Payback, Raw, Elimination Chamber, Unstoppable, NXT TakeOver, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam. Of course, I'll be seeing you a handful of times between now and SummerSlam. Of course. So I'll be getting you back on hashtag SGSM, WrestleRant Radio, doing some more Beast Booking, and SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 for the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
We'll be doing a lot more of that stuff, but hopefully, like I talked to RJ about, if we can get together at some point before SummerSlam and record a podcast with him, myself, and yourself, some sort of three-way, other than with the other two guys, the Five Horsemen, it's going to be incredible. SummerSlam
that could be epic.
Could be epic. It has the potential to be something of epic proportions, as you put it last night.
There you go.
It's going to be one hell of a show. Both WrestleRant Radio and SummerSlam. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I think it's going to be a great show. Oof. Imagine if Kevin Owens and Cena goes beyond that pay-per-view and into SummerSlam.
Can you imagine?
If Owens gets promoted in time for SummerSlam, on the same pay-per-view as first time ever we'll be able to see Brock Lesnar in person.
Incarnate. So we believe.
I mean, Lesnar, Rollins look like that's the direction they're going in.
I hope so.
Imagine if Ambrose was champion on that show.
Ooh. Triple threat
with Roman Reigns and The Shield and Brock Lesnar and Chris Benoit. What was that? Did I say Chris Benoit? Who said that?
Linda McMahon,
Jim Ross,
Superstar Billy Graham.
Oh man, it's gonna be one hell of a show. But
yes.
Of course, before we wrap it up, what would WrestleRant Radio be without its cheap plugs?
Cheap plug. What's going on, guys? You can follow me on Twitter @ John's Jargon and read my John's Jargon columns at nextEraWrestling.net at www.nextEraWrestling.net. That is where you can read my John's Jargon's columns. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And of course, you can check them out on YouTube as well.
What was that?
There's not that many W's in there, but it is nextEraWrestling.net. You can read John's Jargon. You can check him out on this week's hashtag AskGSM, talking for 42 minutes. awesome episode.
Yes, sir.
Great to see you, John, as always, recording this stuff.
Always fun.
Always great to have the collision of the two best minds in wrestling, the bookings.
That's bold.
That's very,
I agree.
It's very bold. Being a bit cocky right now. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there because I can. There's no one else out there.
Deal with it.
Hashtag deal with it. But yeah, like I said, you can check him out at nextwrestling.net, John's Jargon. For me, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews, at WrestleRant on the Twitter, YouTube, Graham Juice Matthews, youtube.com/C/Graham Juice Matthews. And like I said, John is on this week's episode, so make sure you check it out for hashtag AskGSM. You got it. You can check out John every single week on Twitter at _John's Jargon.
I do have to say, with a bunch of media classes I'll be taking in this coming fall, I'll be on so many more platforms by the fall. That you heard that here first, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be on so much. Not that you guys even care about what I say. I don't even care about what I say.
We all care. This is the guy that got replied to by Jim Ross and Bully Ray this past week.
And Aloe Black. And my dad. No, I didn't. Dang it. No, but I'm interested. I'm thinking about making, my own website, maybe.
It's coming up down the pike.
Maybe a little YouTube action.
In time for SummerSlam.
Stay in tune, boys and girls. Stay in tune.
You heard it right here, folks. WrestleRant Radio. John, you'll be seeing him on various platforms for social media. You'll be seeing him not only on Twitter, but on Facebook, on Instagram.
Finna
blow up. Maybe some MySpace.
Right.
Maybe some Pinterest.
All right.
Maybe some Blogger.
I'll be sending some flyers around. You can read that.
Maybe some ematch.com or whatever the hell it's called.
AIM.
eharmony.com. eharmony.com.
You can come over to my house for a play date. We could talk. We can have some fun.
Thanks, John, for joining me.
Thank you, Graham.
Get you down the road.
Yes, sir.
Many thanks go out to John Knapp at _John's Jargon on the Twitter for joining me for a great episode of WrestleRant Radio here today, only on nextwrestling.net, the only place where you can catch full episodes of WrestleRant Radio every single Tuesday. Excerpts are up on the YouTube channel, and I already gave out all my other plugs before, so I'm not going to go through them again. But next week, though, I will be joined by Bleacher Report featured columnist, the owner and founder of Smart Out Moment, Tony Mango. He was going to join me today, but the whole thing with John kind of transpired at kind of like a last-minute thing over the last couple of days, and I appreciate him having me over his place for a great time. I always have a blast talking to him and seeing him. But yeah, Tony will be on next week's show. We're talking all about NXT TakeOver Unstoppable from tomorrow night. We're going to be reviewing that show and giving predictions for Elimination Chamber on May 31st, which is shaping up to be one hell of a show with 2 chamber matches for the WWE Tag Team titles and the Intercontinental Championship. Kevin Owens versus John Cena. And in the main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. So a lot of predictions for that show. NXT TakeOver Unstoppable talk. It's going to be a huge show next week that you don't want to miss out on. Like I said, only on nextwrestling.net. Thanks for listening, folks, and I'll catch you guys next Tuesday.